Welcome to another edition of Patriots No Huddle. Derek Haven, Steve Balistieri, Mike Diabate, and Parts Unknown here today with you to have a great hour-long conversation about the Patriots. We're going to give some leftover thoughts from the victory against the Saints in Week 6, bringing them to 4-2 on the year, as well as stacking up some pretty quality wins, which we're going to get to. And also, Patriots back in first place in the AFC East as of right now, which I know people are excited about. First time in 6 years. So it's been a drought, but we're back. We're officially back. So before we do anything, Steve, I will go over to you first. How you doing today, my friend?
I'm doing great, other than the fact that I was just telling Mike offline, I have an air conditioning guy here. I need all new ductwork in my house, and that ain't going to be cheap.
Yeah, that'd be a fun bill. Mike, how are you, bud?
I'm doing well, other than being in an undisclosed part of the country right now that I unfortunately
Still in the
cannot
witness
speak
protection
lively about.
program.
Yeah, absolutely. No question about it. It is not fun being in the Wi-Fi deficient zone, friends. But one thing about it, I have gotten feedback from our listeners that it's a lot more easier to eat now that I'm not on camera. So you know what? We take the good, we take the bad, folks.
Too good. Well, Mike, I'll go right back to you, and we'll shoehorn it around to Steve and back to me. Mike, give me your leftover thoughts from the Patriots win over the Saints.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's really that much that is still left unsaid that hasn't been said. This was, I think, a solidification of Drake May really taking the reins of this team and proving that he is a franchise level quarterback. Is there still growth to be done? Absolutely. Is there, has he reached his peak? Absolutely not. And I think Patriots fans would be, insulted by the notion that he is. But at this point, you have to be able to see the forest from the trees and know that this kid is the real deal. He consistently keeps the Patriots in position to win. And as long as he's playing at a high level, this team can really write its own ticket in terms of being able to compete. Not necessarily win, but compete. And I think as long as they're doing that, Mike Vrabel's message is getting across. Few things, obviously, you'd like to see the Patriots maybe, shore up the defense in the middle of the field. I think that was a little bit of an issue on Sunday against this Saints team. Spencer Rattler had some success in those, underneath zones. I think the Patriots should, spend the week trying to, solidify that, because that the new coaching regime now in Tennessee is going to be trying to focus on that this week. At this point, I'd like to see a little bit more production out of the offensive line and the running game. And I think, Steve, you articulated this very well earlier in the week and in your final grade report for the Patriots. If they can get a consistent running game alongside Drake May, look out. This team's going to be tough to beat. But those are my final thoughts on the Saints heading into Week 7 against the Titans.
Steve, what about you?
Yeah, again, I probably reiterate everything Mike just said, but they look really good in the passing game right now. I think that the running game needs to, get fixed. However, Josh McDaniels sees fit with that. Defensively, I didn't think they were bad. I mean, yeah, the game started off a little awry there with the long pass, but after that, I mean, basically they held the Saints after that first play from scrimmage. They had 174 yards passing, so it's tough to grade them too hard on that. And part of that was the fact that they were playing a lot of zones, so they were keeping stuff in front of them. They were giving them those easy passes underneath. So, I didn't think the defense was as bad. Yeah, they gave up scores the first 4 times, but they tightened it up in the second half, held them to a field goal, and now they just need to keep building. I mean, looking ahead, this is a big game for them, especially for their head coach, as much as he won't admit it.
Yeah, it is going to be it is going to be a kind of a revenge game for a couple of guys. You know, you got Harold Landry as well. Who's the other player? We just mentioned that Jack Gibbons, you know, is coming back. I think there's one more too. I don't know why I'm blanking on it. But, you know, and Stretch, you know, Stretch coming with Vrabel and everything too. So a couple of guys, you know, so we'll get into the Titans here shortly. There's definitely things to unpack there.
As Mike eloquently put it, you know, Vrabel is he's playing the Godfather route, saying it's strictly business, but we know it's personal, right? Mike, bada beep, bada boop, but you know,
it's always personal. And Steve, this is business, and this man is taking it very, very personal. And it's true. It really is. I mean, it is personal for Mike Vrabel, and it should be personal for Mike Vrabel. Look, it was an unceremonious exit from Music City for the new head coach of the New England Patriots. And Mike is going to say all the right things. He's going to speak to the media today at 1:35. If you're listening and watching us live or listening to us before Wednesday at 1:35, Mike is about to address the media. And I'm sure these questions are going to be asked. And I'm even more sure that his answers are going to be right in line with what we expect him to say. This is a Week 7 game. I'm focused on my team. I'm focused on the New England Patriots. That's how I'm accepting this. But this one was circled on his calendar a long time ago. And it's not just a homecoming for Mike. You know, Derek, you mentioned Stretch, you know, going back, and Ryan Cowden and having worked, you know, for him. Guys like Robert Spillane, Harold Landry, Joshua Dobbs, Austin Hooper, Jack Gibbons, all of these guys played under Mike when he was a coach of the Tennessee Titans. So a lot of patriotic feeling is going to be on the field at Nissan Stadium on Sunday. To me, that really it gives this team, I think, a little bit of an extra kick this week. And you know Mike's going to have that message going when the cameras are not blaring and there's not, you know, a reporter with a phone, you know, stuck, you know, where it shouldn't be, and trying to get a soundbite that they're not entitled to get. When that media access is closed, that's when you're going to see this team, I think, really come alive. And I think Mike's going to have a few wrinkles up his sleeve this weekend. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, we'll circle back to something that you just said here in a second. Yeah, my final thought was, you know, I was joking around with Steve when we were talking yesterday and saying that my dad called me sometime late in the third quarter and was like, you know, why haven't we seen any that like really dynamic, that little punt returner that plays cornerback too? And I'm like, because no team has punted. Yeah, no,
That's right.
you know, which is a pro and a con. I think the Patriots defense was something to be desired there. And I thought Rattler played better than I think some people are giving him credit for. I also think it was impressive that the Patriots, you know, went down and just continued to score right off the rip. And they really set the tone early and were able to put some points on the board and put pressure on them immediately. And then they had the double score coming back, which I thought was great. We all know the officiating, you know, that's, I don't want to kick a dead horse, but yeah, that was brutal. So we have the post-game show. You know, we're recording this on October 15th on Wednesday. I know that all of our listeners have probably already heard this. So let's get into something a little bit different. Mike, you just said, you know, you talk about, you know, some of the return of the players to Tennessee, including Mike Vrabel and Stretch, you know, could give them a bump. On the flip side, the Titans fired their head coach this week, Brian Callahan, and some people, you know, you could argue that that could give the Titans a bump in the past. I mean, or in the past, we've seen coaches get fired and the players kind of rally, and I think it could go the other way. Now, Tennessee came out and said that Callahan was the only coach that was going to be removed. The rest of the coaching staff is staying where it is, so there's still some familiarity there, but. Now you get Mike McCoy coming in as the interim, you know, coach, and you know, he obviously did do well with the Chargers, but I think anything's better than what they've had. I mean, Callahan was there for 23 games and went 4-19. So, you know, I guess my question to you, Steve, is: what do you think? Which bump is going to be, you know, different for each team? Do you think that the Patriots will get a bump from Vrabel and kind of hyping them up, or could it backfire a little bit? Maybe they're too emotional. And on the flip side, do you think the Titans will get a bump from firing Callahan, or do you think they'll be unprepared with a new coach, you know, in such a short period of time?
Well, I think each team will get a bump. I think Tennessee, you know, there's always that initial a bump when a team fires its head coach and they bring in a new guy. But would it be enough to put them over the top? I don't think so. Now, in regards to the Patriots, I mean, again, they're going to say all the right things and all this. But as Mike eloquently put it, this one's personal because the Titans are a dysfunctional team. And, it starts at ownership. There's no, there's no, rule book or there's no manual for being an NFL owner, right? But we've seen what good ownership does, and we've seen what bad ownership does. And look, when Bud Adams passed away, right? His family was split in three ways, and they were all fighting over who was going to get control of the team. Amy Adams Strunk ended up with control of the team, and it's been dysfunctional. Call it what it is. And we've seen this with other teams with bad ownership, right? And whoever gets her ear, right? Who's ever in her ear has has the keys to the kingdom, so to speak. Vrabel was there. Okay, he won the division 2 times, and then they fired John Robinson. They brought in Rand Carthon. What happens? It falls apart, and Carthon blames it on Vrabel. They get rid of Vrabel, and they've been 4-19 since. Now Carthon's gone, and the guy that replaced, Vrabel, Callahan's gone. And the funny thing is, Vrabel's won more, or he has won as many in just 6 games with New England as the Titans have won since they got rid of him over a year ago.
Yep.
So this one's going to be personal. And again, they're going to say all the right things, but these players are all in. They're in Vrabel's camp, right? They've totally bought in, and now they're this one's for the coach, and some of them have been there, and they didn't like the way things ended for their coach at that point. I think the Patriots are going to come out en fuego on Sunday.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things, Mike, and I want to ask you the same question I just asked Steve, but I think it's one of those things where you really want to make a statement early. You want to just take any wind out of the sails. The last thing you want to do is let Tennessee drive right down the field and score, or turn the ball over and have them do the same thing. Or, you don't want to give them any momentum early. Just show them, like, if the Patriots are the team that we think they are, they need to come out and just take care of business. Plain, that's kind of flat out. Mike, what do you think about the whole coach bump thing and all that?
Yeah, I think it could work to either side's advantage. Look, there's going to be a little bit of a bump with the Tennessee Titans. It's a prideful team, and they're going to look out and they're going to say, hey, you know what? We had to get rid of our coach, Brian Callahan, but a lot of the same members are still here, whether it be the coaching staff, whether it be the players. We're going to prove that we're better than our record says that we are. And what better way to do it than to kind of ruin the ascension party of a team that is experiencing a big resurgence right now in the New England Patriots. So I expect them to play better, and I expect them to have a more emotional, spiritual lift when they take the field on Sunday. But again, I come back to your record telling you what you are. And I look at a team right now that's ranked 32nd in total offense. They're ranked 31st in the rush, 31st in the pass offense. You flip it over to the defense, you're looking at ranked number 25 in rush defense. They're pretty good against the pass. They're ranked 13th. So that's something to keep an eye on if the Patriots are looking to air things out this weekend. This would be a really good opportunity for the Pats to maybe get the running game going. But bottom line, they're 26th in points allowed per game. That to me says this team should be ripe for the pickings for the New England Patriots. And I think it comes back to what Stephen, you were saying, Derek. This is personal to Mike Vrabel. He's looking at the record that he built and the budding, I don't want to say, juggernaut that he was building in Tennessee, because I think it was a little far from that, but it looked like he was well on his way to building a winning program. 54-45 from 2018 to 2023 when he was there. Team won back-to-back AFC South titles in 2020. did it again in 2021, made an AFC Championship appearance against the Kansas City Chiefs in 2019, then started to have some of the I don't know, duties kind of reassigned or taken away, and he started to clash with management, and that led to some difficulty in the front office and ultimately led to his dismissal. But I think Mike wants to show this franchise that, you know what, you gave up on me a little bit too quickly, and this is what I can do when I have support from ownership, when I have support from my players, and when I have a good amount of familiarity around me. And not only did he take those 6 players that I mentioned earlier and put them into a prominent role here on the Patriots, he's got 13 staff members that were on his staff in Tennessee or that worked closely with him in Tennessee that are now here in New England. That's 19 people total that this franchise now employs that were once a part of the Vrabel regime in Tennessee. He's not just fighting for himself, he's fighting for those guys too. And I think that's going to be an added level of motivation for Mike Vrabel this weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to thank everyone who's listening to this episode of Patriots No Huddle, brought to you by PatsFans.com. Please do subscribe to us on our Pats Fans YouTube channel, as well as like, share, leave us a review on whether it's Spotify or Apple Podcasts, and keep us high on those podcast rankings so other Patriots fans can find us. Mike, I'm going to shoot back at you, and then Steve, I'll go to you next because we already kind of had the pre-show about this topic. Lot to be made about the trade deadline coming up and whether the Patriots should be buyers, Mike. And my first question to you, and keep it relatively simple because it's just kind of more of a yes or no.
Mm-hmm.
Should the Patriots try to make a trade and bring in this team, or would you rather have the assets and just say, you know what, we'll just focus on the offseason, we'll just ride with what we have?
Well, it's going to sound like a cop-out. It's going to sound like I'm trying to be too diplomatic, but I think it depends on the asset. I think it depends on the asset. Look, bottom line, if you have an opportunity to go out and get a difference maker, you never turn down those calls, depending on what the Patriots would have to surrender in return to bring in a big-time player. You always make those calls. If the Philadelphia Eagles decide that, you know what, it's not salvageable with A.J. Brown until the end of the season and we just can't make this work, and they say, look, we think he wants to be in New England, can we make a deal? You pick up the phone any day of the week and twice on Sunday to try to make that happen. I personally don't think that will happen. I don't think if AJ is moved, I don't think it'll be until after the season is over. But if that type of deal comes along, yeah, you try to make those. But for the smaller deals or the intricate deals or something that just allows the fan base to say, hey, you know what, we did something at the trade deadline. You're building an awful lot here in New England right now. This team is looking good in most phases. I know they need some running back help. They probably would like maybe another defender to add in and add to the regular rotation. But in my opinion, I wouldn't be overly aggressive to try to make a deal. I think a lot of that is fan driven. I think that's the fan and everybody coming out saying, damn the torpedoes, full speed ahead. Mike Vrabel knows better. He's not going to do anything to disrupt the chemistry of this team.
Yeah, we're going to circle back to some positions here in a second. Steve, let me ask you the same thing. You probably align somewhere with what Mike said, but is there a yes or no definitive, or are you kind of feeling the same way?
I think, and Vrabel has said it on several occasions, you always look to better the football team, right? So if there's something there, absolutely. Now, would I go crazy and overpay for somebody? No. But if somebody is in the middle of, offloading a bunch of salary or players, whatever, and you can get some guy on the cheap, by all means, I'm all for that. But yeah, I agree with Mike, and I'm not going to sit there and pound on people's doors trying to find a deal. But if something's out there, absolutely, I'm kicking the tires on that.
Yeah, I don't know.
And again, you have to look at the situation. The AFC right now is kind of like crazy this year because of, the way the season started off. And, you're thinking that your rebuild is in a different spot. Now, all of a sudden, your rebuild is like way ahead of schedule. And, they could be looking at it, and again, it's farther down the line, but hey, we might be able to make some noise this year.
Well,
And
I think the factor with that though is that going into the season, we would have thought that the three best teams in the AFC, Chiefs, Ravens, Bengals, wouldn't be in the spots they're in. Now, I guess the Chiefs are kind of different. I think that they've lost a lot of people, but they're getting more people back. Obviously, with Lamar and Joe Burrow's situations, the Ravens are also dinged up in a lot of other places. You have that there, and then the Bills, and I should say the four teams, because the Bills to me also, uh, they have a lot of other issues, but we're not going to dive into it too much. They have Josh Allen still, but their skill positions are just a big problem right now, and they just don't have enough. You try to take away Josh Allen, which it's difficult to do, but at the same time they're going to be limited. With whether it's just James Cook and, you have Kincaid, you have a decent line, but the receivers are just not where they need to be. They've also had some injury issues. So, yeah, I mean, it's right there. I mean, to me, just to go back to the question I asked both of you, I would say that right now, I kind of lean no, unless it's a day 3 pick. I know people are like, oh, well, I'll trade a second or third round pick. There'd be very few players that I'd be interested in trading those kind of picks for, because I still think that the Patriots are a young up and coming team, and I want to keep those assets. And the third round I would entertain depending on who it is, but I think sometimes, and a lot of fans do this, and a lot of media do this too. They overvalue their own players and think that we can trade Ramondre Stevenson and get a third. I'm like, you're not getting a third round pick for Ramondre Stevenson. I just don't think with his contract and the way he's played. And I'm just using him as an example. But I think that on the flip side, people are always surprised when a certain player moves and maybe he doesn't go for as much. And it just depends. I've been thinking, guys, and Mike, I'll go to you. If there was a, I'm not talking about a specific player. But I think the two biggest things on my list from a position standpoint, I would put running back, which I almost feel is kind of a necessity, and edge rusher. I would like to have another edge rusher in the rotation. Those are my big two if they do go after somebody.
Yeah, I'm in complete agreement with you, Derek. Those are my two as well. And look, those are the two biggest needs, I think, on this team right now. Running back, Terrell Jennings did not register a snap on offense, despite being called up from the practice squad this weekend. He did play a role in special teams, but I don't know if that's a harbinger of things to come when it comes to whether or not they feel that he's going to be the third guy, or if they have to go out and get someone. We talked about a few players, a few veterans that might be available for the pickings for the Pats if they wanted to sign off of the street. But there are players that are available via trade too. So yeah, that's one I would definitely entertain. And the edge rush, I think, is something where you always need edge rushers on this team. One of the hallmarks of a Mike Vrabel and Terrell Williams defense is rotation. You're not going to see these guys play every single down, every single snap, because you want to keep fresh legs in there at all times to keep that aggressive nature and to keep pressure on the quarterback. So absolutely, those are two positions that I think upgrade this team immediately. And Steve, to your point, if the Patriots see an opportunity to get better, Mike Vrabel's not going to hesitate. He's going to entertain that idea. The question is, how much do they have to give up, and whether or not it's the right prospect for this team right now.
I can't share it on here, but Quig did tweet saying, "See what you can get for a day 3 pick," and that's kind of where I'm at. If you can throw a mid to late round pick, and there's someone who can just help you in just in a role, like a spot role, give you a little depth. I think that's one thing that the Patriots have been lucky with, knock on wood, is they've been healthy to this point in the season. And I think if you look over the roster, it's significantly improved. And Drake has significantly improved, which is obviously going to propel you. And they have a better coaching staff, which is going to propel you as well. But I think the one thing that we're kind of whistling past the graveyard, and that's okay because we are a little bit ahead of the rebuild. But I do think the depth is something that really needs to be focused on this offseason. You need to continue to add more players. And that's why I kind of want to keep I want to keep the picks for the younger players. And then we can add some immediate role players during free agency, but that's just kind of a story for another day. Steve, any thoughts on that?
No, I'm in total agreement with that because you want to keep your draft capital. I mean, you you just started this rebuild this spring, so you're still in the infancy stages of it, despite the fact that right now you're running in first place. But yeah, the depth is something that they definitely need to work on because if the injury bug hits them, this could come to a screeching halt right now. So you don't want to give up too much, and I think we're all in agreement with that. You just have to wait and see what situations arise during the trade deadline, and what teams want to sell off some of their players. I mean, there's some guys out there that might come available that you want on this team that would fit. So,
I,
depending on what the price is, then
yeah.
go with it.
I also think I really would rather them. I really would rather them kind of strike quickly rather than wait to the deadline. But I guess you could make an argument either way, personally. So, anyway, let's jump into it. Opening thoughts on the Titans. Okay, I'll go first on this one. Um, well, I guess we've kind of started the conversation. Cam Ward, very fascinating talent. A little sporadic, but sometimes he can really lock it in there. Has a lot of physical talent. So kind of curious to see how that goes. And defensively, again, definitely it's nice that the Titans are not a great run defense team, as Mike alluded to earlier, but the Patriots haven't really been able to run the ball, and they really have been relying on the pass game. I'd really like to see Stevenson have kind of a game to get on track here. And I think they could feed him. And I think that Drake May could use him to play with his legs. I'd also like to see Travion Henderson involved more, but there's a reason that he's not involved more. They obviously don't feel. I'm kind of torn because we go back to the conversation about maybe adding a running back, whether it's a veteran or a trade. Well, they obviously don't have a ton of urgency to do that. So it's either they feel comfortable with Henderson and they don't feel like they need it, and Jennings and Stevenson, or they just are working it out behind the scenes and they're just not ready to pull the trigger on it yet. But I do think this is one of those games in the past where if the Patriots were, annually a very good team, kind of like the Brady years, maybe not as dominant, but you're a really good team. You're now on your third road game in a row. You're going back home and have two really good opponents the next 2 weeks coming up. This is a game that you could potentially overlook. I really don't think that's going to be the case because I think Vrabel's going to keep them kind of level headed. And we talked about all the coaching staff and players that are going to be returning to Tennessee. But I do think that this is one of those games where, some people ask, how did they lose against the Raiders and then do what they've done, the last, couple of weeks. And it's like, football is not transitive property. A plus B doesn't always equal C, and that's just how it goes. So, Steve, initial thoughts on the Titans?
Yeah, again, I mean, I think right now they're a very dysfunctional team. And look, with Cam Ward, it's tough to judge him thus far in his career, due to the fact that his offensive line has been terrible, and the Titans are losing two coaches. They not only lost the head coach, but they lost his dad. Bill Callahan said he will not stay on, and he's the offensive line coach.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's been the big issue with them. I mean, he's been sacked 25 times. He's been under pressure a lot, and that should play into how the Patriots approach this game. But, I think their pass defense numbers are a little skewed, and I'll tell you why. They've been behind in all of their games for the most part. And, when teams are ahead, they tend to run more and throw less. So I'm not going to sit here and say they're terrible, but when I look at this Titans pass defense, this is a pass defense I think the Patriots can attack. And, Offensively, like I said, their offensive line has been terrible, and that throws everything, off kilter for them. They're only averaging 81 yards per game on the ground, which is a lot less than the Patriots are at this point.
Yeah.
So I think, this is a team that's in disarray right now. Whether or not they can circle the wagons and make it very competitive, I'm not so sure about that. But you can't take them lightly going in. And that plays into, the Patriots' mindset going into Sunday's game, because it is a homecoming for a lot of the staff and players.
Yep. Mike, over to you, bud.
Yeah, I think you guys have echoed a lot of the points that I would have made when it comes to the Titans. Steve, I think it's a great ad and a great point that you made about those numbers on the pass defense being a little bit skewed because, yeah, teams are running more on the Tennessee Titans because the Titans are down in most of the games that they're playing. So that definitely is something to keep an eye on. That 13th rank that they hold right now doesn't mean that the Patriots are not going to try to test this pass defense, because I believe they will. Offensively, not a whole lot that will instill fear into you. There are savvy veterans on this team. I know Calvin Ridley right now is questionable. No one knows what the situation is going to be with him just yet this week. Tony Pollard is a capable runner. He was a great runner for a number of years with the Dallas Cowboys. He can catch the ball out of the backfield. I think too much is being placed on his shoulders because Cam Ward doesn't have a whole lot to operate with when it comes to time and protection from his offensive line. Guys like Tyler Lockett, Van Jefferson. I mean, these are players that have been, around the league, and, you've seen them, for a number of years operate at a high level. But right now, this team around them isn't allowing them the chance to be able to make plays. A guy I would watch closely if I'm the New England Patriots this weekend, tight end Chikakonkwo. He hasn't put up monster numbers, but Patriots have had their difficulties in defending tight ends. So do the Titans try to attack the Patriots in that regard, and try to utilize his services in the intermediate areas of the field to get themselves in scoring position? That's something I would keep an eye on myself. But right now, I like how the Patriots match up both offensively and defensively against this Titans team.
What do you think, gentlemen? What do we? What's our confidence? Not to give away the prediction. What's the confidence level going into this game? Because I was about to look up the spread here in a second. I'm just curious what Vegas thinks. But I feel like I could see a point in this game where maybe the Titans make a play or two. But I think the Patriots are going to continue to kind of roll here a bit, and it could be one of those games that maybe the Patriots kick a field goal and the Titans are keep it close the first quarter, and then the Patriots start kind of pulling away, and that's kind of the end of it. I don't really see this game being super tight, midway through the third quarter. What about you, Mike?
No, I don't either. I think my confidence level is confident, definitely not cocky. Because, again, there's a lot of reasons why the Titans are playing for pride in this game. They're looking to put the league on notice and say we're not just going to be a pushover each and every week. We lost our head coach, but we still got talent. We want to prove that. And I think they will try to look at some of the Patriots' deficiencies over the course of the first few games where the Pats struggled and try to exploit those. But again, I think they just match up so well in terms of what the Patriots do well and in terms of where this Titans team is deficient. It's going to be a big game for the defensive line, a potentially big game for the defensive line with this O-line for Tennessee really struggling. If they dictate the tempo and they dictate the time of possession, yeah, this one could be over in a hurry. If not, you're in for a pretty good game at Nissan Stadium on Sunday.
Yeah, the Patriots right now on DraftKings are, they're favored by 7 points. Over unders 42.5. I don't know. That's a good number. I like the Patriots by a little bit more than 7. Not to peek behind the curtain too much. Steve, what about you, man? Confidence level?
Yeah, I like how Mike put it. Confident but not cocky. I was looking at some numbers last night. Teams that are on the road for 3 games in a row, they traditionally don't win all 3. It's tough. Now, with the schedule that they've had, the tough one was the first one. Obviously, it was Buffalo. They kind of weathered the storm a little bit, and did what they needed to do in New Orleans. But I just think, I don't think this is a really good football team that they're playing. So, that leads me to believe that the confidence level will be and should be high.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. Well, I'm trying to think where we go from here on this. Any topics you guys want to bring up, or should we get into score predictions and predictions around the league?
Let's do some predictions, man.
Cool. All right. So I was kind of looking through. I was kind of looking through this week's slate of games. Obviously, there are some ugly matchups here this week. Let's see. A little show prep, it would have been better. All right, I got a couple right here. There's two, and all right, let's do Colts at Chargers Sunday at 105. Mike, you first. Obviously, the Colts have been one of the bigger surprises this season.
Yeah, without any question. I mean, both on offense and on defense, this team right now has turned a lot of heads. And I want to give a lot of credit to Daniel Jones. I mean, he went from a punchline a year ago at this time to being one of the, more highly rated quarterbacks in this league. And that's not by happenstance. That's by design. This kid put in the work, is in the right system to cultivate him. And I think he's doing a fine job. And I'm really glad to see him playing along. I do think right now that the Los Angeles Chargers have a decent amount of depth on both sides of the ball, and they're also playing, at a high level, 4-2. They're first in the AFC West right now. I just love Justin Herbert's game, and I think that he's going to have an opportunity to attack this Indianapolis secondary. Guy I'm going to be watching closely, obviously, is someone that I know Patriots fans wish was here, or at least up until a couple of weeks ago, they were salivating for this guy to be here. But I'm looking for a big game from Ladd McConkey. 28 catches, 313 yards, 2 touchdowns, but he fits that mold of being able to work the intermediate areas of the field, and I think he can find some success. I'm going to go with the Chargers on this one. I'm going to say the Chargers win this one by a field goal. It's going to be a close one, but I think Indianapolis is due to hit the wall just a little bit. I think this may be the game where it finally happens.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you, honestly. I want to. Part of me leans Colts, but there's that part of me. I guess I'm still not a full believer in the Colts yet. I just don't see it. And look, the Chargers haven't really earned it, but I just keep wondering when it's going to strike midnight for Cinderella over there in Indianapolis. So, look, I don't want to take anything away. It's not like the Patriots. I mean, the Patriots have played well, but I mean, the Colts. Jonathan Taylor's just played absolutely lights out this year. So I'm going to take the Chargers because I just think the Colts are due to lose, but it would not shock me if this game came down to one of the last 2 possessions. I think you're right, Mike. It's going to be like a 3 or 4 point game.
Yeah, I'm with you guys. I was, looking at this one. Chargers are, being at home. This is a big game, and they want to, keep that lead over Kansas City in the division. But, but I'm looking at Jonathan Taylor, right? I think he has a big game this week. I think I'm going to go with Indy just to be a little different.
It's hard to argue with that. Like I said, I could see it going either way. I want to say Indy, but I just can't. I just can't see them continuing on this heater they're on. All right, I'm going next. I am going to the Falcons at the 49ers. I think interesting matchup. Falcons, another surprise team this year. They're playing terrific. Bijan Robinson, Drake London had an amazing game. We'll be talking about them here shortly. So that will be interesting. Steve, I'll go back to you on this one. Personally, I'm going to go with another home winner with the 49ers, but I don't feel good about it. I think the Falcons defense is playing terrific. And Bijan Robinson is already a top 3 running back in this league. So I think him, Saquon, CMC, you can put them in any order you want. I mean, Bijan's playing at that level right now. Some tough matchups. I am tempted to take the Falcons because they are on kind of a heater, and the 49ers have been so banged up. But I'm going to lean the 49ers. and that's what I know. But again, not overly confident. Steve, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm leaning the 49ers as well. I think, you make a great point. Bijan Robinson is on an absolute tear. And the 49ers lost Fred Warner last week. So
I know.
that's a big blow for the defense. But I think the 49ers will be able to generate enough pass rush this weekend to disrupt the passing game of Atlanta. I think this will be a really close one, but I think I'll take the 49ers in this one.
Mike, over to you. Falcons and 49ers. Who you got?
Yeah, we're going to make this unanimous, gentlemen. As much as I love the way that the Falcons are playing, and I thought they played tremendous against the Buffalo Bills, and I know Patriots fans definitely agreed to temper the 28-3 jokes because of what they did for this team over the weekend. But bottom line, Christian McCaffrey right now has kind of been laying in the woods. Not saying that he's had a poor season by any stretch of the imagination, but he hasn't necessarily flashed as a workhorse runner, as a pure runner. And I think at this point, I think he's starting to climb out of that a little bit. 17 carries, 54 yards, and a touchdown last week. Caught 7 of 8 targets for 57 yards against the Bucs. We know he's going to get his touches when it comes to being a receiving back, but I think you're going to see the Niners lean on him as more of a heavier rusher this week. And I think the way this Falcons defense is situated, it's going to give Christian a little bit more room to operate. So it's going to be a close one, but I say the 49ers by a field goal.
The Monday night game, guys, is going to be an awesome one. You got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers with a 5-1 record going on the road to Detroit and facing the 4-2 Lions. Excellent game. Looking forward to it. Mike, I'll go back to you. Who do you got in this one and why?
My Detroit brethren are not going to be happy with me on this one, but I'm going to go with the Buccaneers here. I'm going to say that Baker Mayfield is going to find a way to be able to penetrate that Detroit defense. That's not going to be an easy target. That's not going to be an easy task, and especially with all the banged up nature of his primary targets right now. But I still like the way that Tampa Bay is manufacturing wins. And I like the way that they're able to take adversity and turn it into something positive. And that defense has been an awfully big part of it. So I think they ride the wave a little bit this week. Detroit right now is, taking a couple of hits. They're still, I believe, the ultimate team to beat right now with them and the defending champions, the Philadelphia Eagles in the NFC right now. But Tampa Bay's playing at a high level, and I think they continue that going. I like them this week in a close one.
Steve?
Yeah, I mean, I think Mike Evans might be back.
Yeah, his window opened.
But
they're hoping.
Yeah, I mean, but you look at who they've been without, and because I wrote this the other day, I think Baker Mayfield, if the season ended tomorrow, he would definitely be my MVP because he's doing it without all of his top weapons. And, you just kind of look at it every week and you're thinking, what's he going to pull out of his hat? But I think this Detroit team is, a little too much to be able to do that without a full complement of your receivers and runners and whoever. So I think the Lions rebound this week, and I have them taking this one.
Yeah, I am a big Baker believer, and I do think he's got to be in the top 2 or 3 for MVP. I mean, he's playing lights out. It's cool. It's cool to see. And going back to what Mike said about Daniel Jones. I mean, you look at Sam Darnold, Daniel Jones, Baker Mayfield. There's several others. Kind of this renaissance of these guys that are getting an opportunity in a different place, and sometimes it's just the situation around you. And you don't get the fair shake, but it's an impatient league. And Baker's showing you that he's still got something going on. And, he's got that team humming. I just think it's going to be a tough environment for them. And I'm really kind of curious to see what the Lions have up their sleeve. I think this is kind of a sneaky big game for the Lions. 4-2 to 4-3. If the Bucs were to upset them, wouldn't be the end of the world at all. Certainly not for a playoff contending team. But I do think there's been some question there over a couple of certain things. And I think that Jahmyr Gibbs is going to have a big game. He's a special player. So yeah, I got the Lions. I got the Lions in this one, but it should be a really fun. I'm making chili on Sunday. Better believe it's going down Monday night watching the game. It's going to be a good one. I'm looking forward to that one already. Okay, well, let's get into the Patriots game, guys. So I guess, Steve, you do the honors. Who do you got? Patriots or Titans?
Yeah, I think like I said, I think this is personal for Vrabel, his staff, and the players are going to react that way. I think they're going to play a really strong game on Sunday. I think they win this one going away. I have them winning 31-14.
You and I are always so close. Mike, over to you.
Yeah, I echo a lot of what Steve just said. Look, this is a personal matchup for Mike Vrabel. There's no question about it. He wants to win, but ultimately, it's going to be the players on the field that decide this. And I think the Patriots are going to be able to attack and exploit the Tennessee pass defense, and I think they're going to be able to maybe expose some deficiencies there that other teams haven't been able to because of the high level that players like Stephon Diggs and Kayshon Boutte, and I now throw Demario Douglas into that mix are playing at. Maybe we'll see a little Kyle Williams a little bit more. Those snap counts keep increasing each and every week. Maybe they unveil him as a potential new weapon. And I think the Patriots are going to find space to be able to run the ball as well. So in that vein, I think that's going to place a little bit less pressure on the defense's shoulders. They're going to be able to pin their ears back, keep pressure on Cam Ward, keep him out of his game. They do that. The Patriots, I think, win this one comfortably. I have them winning by a final of 28-17.
We're all kind of in the same vicinity. I got the Patriots winning 30-16 in this one. I think that ultimately it's very similar to the Saints game, just in terms of I think the Patriots score touchdowns, and I think the Titans will kick field goals. And I think I do think that there's the revenge factor. I think there's going to be a lot of emotion. I would love to see the Patriots just go in there and just drop a 40 burger, but I just don't know if that's realistic. And look, let's face the human element. Third game in a row. I mean, on the road. And look, I know these guys travel in luxury, and it's not like the three of us going out and traveling for 3 weeks straight. But it's still a factor. So to me, I just think they're the better team. Cam Ward is obviously going ahead and kind of growing. It'll be interesting how Mike McCoy handles the interim situation on the sidelines this week. Again, how they change with the coaching staff on the offensive line as well. And I just think the Patriots will be better prepared going into this week. So should be a good one. I'm looking forward to it. Mike, final thoughts for you on the show?
Simply that I think Patriots fans should enjoy the run that this team is on right now, and whether it continues for another week beyond week 7 into week 8, or whether it ends in Tennessee with some stretch of the imagination, what this team is doing right now is clearly a positive step in the right direction. So always be mindful of that. Don't regress into the sky is falling type mentality if this team doesn't come out and take care of business on Sunday. It's still a young team. It's still a team finding its identity, but a lot of credit goes to Mike Vrabel, his coaching staff, Drake May, the players on the field. They're all buying into one concept. Sounds a lot like Drumland right now. One band, one sound, and it's good to see that in New England for the first time in a long time. I'm definitely excited to watch this team, not just this weekend, but into the next few weeks as we start to head into playoff contention, gentlemen. The Patriots are right in the thick of it.
Yep. Steve, final thoughts for you, bud?
Look, I think this is a big game for the Patriots. They can end the road trip 3-0, come home at 5-2, and all things will be looking really, really good for them. I think they're going to go out and get it done. I think Mike Vrabel's message is getting through to the troops, and right now the big thing is to go in and take care of business, stay healthy.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll give my final thought, Mike, and then take us out. I will. I'll say this. I kind of said this, so I'm just reiterating this point. If the Patriots are as good as many of us think they are, Now, I'm not saying, buy your Super Bowl tickets, but it is exciting that we are in mid-October and that we're already not looking at mock drafts like we have in the last 2 years. So I think they're in position now to capitalize on an opportunity and beat an inferior opponent. And albeit it's on the road, but I think that they go ahead and take care of business this week. And if they're as good as we think they are, they should. And hopefully they have a big win and they can kind of ride high, go home and get some rest, and then get ready for two tough opponents the next 2 weeks because they are going to be different challenges, for a couple different reasons. So it'll be interesting. But Mike, over to you. Close us out.
Absolutely. And folks, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedules each and every day, each and every week for help making us a daily part, a weekly part of your Patriots coverage at PatsFans.com and Patriots No Huddle. On behalf of my good friend, my Patriots paisan, Steve Balistrieri, my other good friend on the West Coast over there, Derek Havens, the great Derek Havens, I'm Mike Debate, reminding all of you to stay safe, to stay well, to be the change you wish to see in the world. Have a great day, everyone, and we'll see you back here again next time on Patriots No Huddle.